Welcome to lecture 13. We were discussing reactors, and as I told you yesterday that we spent the first 10 odd lectures in this semester brushing up our fundamentals of thermodynamics and also doing a lot on chemical kinetics. So, we learned the thermodynamics which is applicable for combustion processes, chemical thermodynamics, and also we spent a lot of time doing chemical kinetics. Now that we have done all this, and I presume we have adequate background for fluid mechanics and heat transfer and also some background on mass transfer, we are looking at simpler problems of combustion, and then we will later on go to more complicated problems of combustion. To start with, we are looking at a problem which is somewhat easy. So, we are looking at a constant pressure fixed mass reactor. So, this is a continuation of what we were doing in the last class, lecture 12, and this is how our reactor looked like. Remember again that we have gaseous reactants. So, this has fuel and air, or you can say sometimes I prefer writing F plus OX, F for fuel, OX for oxidizer. OX is oxidizer. When I write OX, it is typically not oxygen. Oxygen is just one possible oxidizer, of course, the most important oxidizer, but there can be other oxidizers also. So, this is F plus OX, this is the mixture which is here, and this is fixed mass because there is no mass going out of it and no mass coming in, and also this is constant pressure. Remember why this is constant pressure? It is constant pressure because the pressure on the system is decided by the weight of the piston and the weight which is kept above it. If something happens here, for example, some heat gets added to the system, or some heat gets taken out of the system, or there is chemical reaction taking place here, that is actually the main focus of analyzing this. So, we are putting fuel and oxidizer together. So, chemical reaction will take place, we expect that to happen, and if the conditions are right, reactions will take place. But then what happens to the pressure? The pressure will still remain the same no matter the rate at which the reaction proceeds, because the piston will just move to accommodate the same pressure. Okay. So, there should not be any doubt about this system having a constant pressure. All right. So, we did a basic summary of the system yesterday. We said that we will assume that the temperature everywhere is the same, and the species concentration everywhere is also the same, and the rates of reaction at various places is also the same. So, everything is spatially uniform. If you go from one place to the other, nothing really changes spatially, but things change with time. So, this system evolves as a function of time. Initially, you have some conditions, some fuel, some amount of fuel with some amount of oxidizer mixed here at some pressure and temperature, and then once reaction starts taking place, something happens, temperature keeps on changing, we will say keeps on increasing, we expect this to increase typically, and the species concentrations at various places will also change. But if you think of one particular species, let us say we are thinking of carbon monoxide, that carbon monoxide concentration at different places will be the same at a given instant of time. Okay. So, everything is uniform spatially. So, keeping all this in mind, we said that temperature is a function of time, and we also said concentration of the ith species is as a function of time, and there is another one, volume as a function of time. When you added all this, you got 3, or what did you get? You got n plus 2. Okay. So, x I means the ith species, this I can go from 1 to n. And since we have so many variables, we wanted to develop equations which will be same as the number of unknowns, so that we can solve. So, we need equations, we also need initial conditions. This problem requires initial conditions. The initial conditions are in your hands, you know. So, you know the concentrations of fuel and oxidizer at various parts of this all uniform at time t equal to 0. You also know the initial temperature, you know the initial volume, you know the initial pressure. Initial pressure is the same as the final pressure, pressure does not change. Okay. So, for all this we thought about developing some equations, and the first equation which was the easiest to think of was energy equation. So, energy equation means the first law of thermodynamics, and that is what we did yesterday. So, we wrote a q dot equal to m du dt plus p dv dt, this sort of thing, and with some work we could actually show that q dot by m was dh dt small h, and after that we thought this is fine, but h had to be replaced in terms of temperature. So, we did some more work on that. We brought in temperature using what is known as the calorific equation of state, which is h equal to h of formation plus integral Cp dt. So, that is a sensible enthalpy change. I hope you are okay with all the equations that we wrote. Towards the end I jumped a few steps and I wrote this, but I trust that this is not a problem. Is this a problem? This one in the red box, are you comfortable with this? Okay. So, this is where we stopped yesterday. Now, yeah, we are actually bringing in ideal gas assumption also, and that we will have to do in a few minutes, because we have to say something about volume, for example. Okay. So, volume is a function of time, right, we have to get that also. Now, this equation is how many equations again? N? No, this is just one. Okay. So, you have to keep asking yourself this. I mean, this is turning out to be funny sometimes, but that is not the point. The point is that you should always ask yourself as to whether you are getting 1 or 2 or 3 or n, whatever. So, here what do we understand? What is this equation telling us physically? It is telling us that temperature will change with time. Temperature is a function of time, and the rate at which temperature changes as a function of time will depend on the q dot. Q dot was a heat added to the piston cylinder arrangement. Okay. So, that was our arrangement, and we said that according to our convention, what is added as heat here shows up as q dot in the first law. So, q dot is positive when it goes to the system according to the convention that we are following. So, temperature as a function of time will depend on q dot. It will also depend on the concentrations of various species, and it will depend on omega dot I. Now, what are omega dot I? Omega dot I are essentially rates of reactions. They have some connection to rates of reactions, because this is 1 over volume dNi dt. So, d dt of Ni is the number of moles of the ith species. The rate at which the number of moles of the ith species changes is obviously dependent on the reaction rate. Okay, so, this is some measure of the reaction rate, this omega dot I. So, that rate of change of number of moles of the ith species divided by volume is called an omega dot I. So, this is showing up here. So, this equation tells you that the rate of the ith reaction and the energy associated with that will affect the rate of evolution of temperature. Yes.
So, Cpi will be constant, or it is a function of temperature?
Cp bar I can be taken to be a constant, or it can be a function of temperature. Okay.
We have already used ideal gas, because otherwise
we have used ideal gas, but there what did we use? We just wrote dh I bar dt as Cp bar I. Okay. So, that is the only information that we have used, but Cp bar I can in turn can be a function of temperature also, isn't it? So, this part is Cp bar I, but Cp bar I can be a function of temperature. Okay. So, ideal gas does not necessarily mean that you are forced to assume Cp is not a function of temperature. Ideal gas means that H H is only a function of temperature. H is only a function of temperature. So, if so ideal gas means H I bar is just a function of temperature, that is what it means. Okay. This means
We are also assuming constant Cp independent of temperature. Cp
we can assume it to be a variable with temperature.
then two terms will be coming
Hmm.
from the
Two terms will have T.
means no that it will be Cp into dt by dt plus T into dCp by dt. Or I mean dH by dt that
Huh.
it will be
That is Cp, but dHi d temperature is Cp, okay, and that Cp can be a function of temperature. That is all it says.
No, so then Cp will also be differentiated with reference to T.
that's what.
No, but we are not differentiating Cp, no.
So Hi is a function of Cp and delta T.
Hmm.
Then when we differentiate with reference to delta T, then Cpi term will be different and
See, dHi bar dt is actually a function of, I mean dHi bar dt is just Cp, okay, just Cp. So, we are saying that Cp can be a function of temperature. We are not differentiating Cpi, okay. We are not differentiating Cp.
being differentiated with reference to this temperature. That's why this that had the okay. We are not
Yeah, yeah.
differentiated with reference to time. Then it would have been different. Otherwise,
Because the time dependency is time derivative is here.
So does
Okay.
it have any effect on volume, sir? Because 1 by V is also there in the numerator.
In this volume.
Yes, sir. That the,
Uh-huh.
the other
Yeah, so I will come to that. I will come to that. So, what I was saying is, we were looking at this equation and trying to think how the evolution of temperature depends on various things. So, the first thing we understood that is that this will depend on a q dot. Okay, this will depend on a q dot, and this will also depend on the reaction rates. So, this will depend on omega dot i's. And it will depend on individual species concentrations, and that we understand because it has individual species concentrations in the denominator, but you expect omega dot I, which is reaction rate, to also depend on individual species concentrations, because we learned that in chemical kinetics that rates of reactions are dependent on species concentrations multiplied to some powers and things like that, and also on temperature through that energy factor and pre-exponential factor and all that. So, species concentration will matter here, species concentration will matter here. Hi bar itself will have temperature dependence, okay, because Hi bar is enthalpy of formation plus integral Cp dt, okay. And what else? Let us think about the temperature dependence of d temperature dt. So, d temperature dt depends on species concentrations, d temperature dt also depends on temperatures. How? Omega dot I will have energy factor which will have that exponential dependence on temperature. Now, Cp bar I, if you do not take it to be constant, will have a temperature dependence. Volume, okay, volume, if you say volume is like directly varying only with time, then we do not take the temperature dependence on volume, but of course volume, I mean these are all coupled. So, the message here is that the temperature evolution depends on the concentration evaluations also. Concentration evolution means the variation, the changes of concentration with respect to time, that is coupled to the temperature evolution with respect to time, okay. And temperature evolution, rate of change of temperature depends on temperature itself in a non-linear fashion, because this will have an exponential term which will have minus E over R bar T. So, lots of complications. What else? We have to also talk about other equations. So, the other equations are for species. We need more equations now. This is Ni by V by definition, and can we do this? Okay, just jumped one step. What have I done? This has, on the right hand side there was Ni, but you will get a Ni by V somewhere. See, 1 over V when differentiated gives you minus 1 over V squared. So, V squared in the denominator, you use one of those V's to get this xi. Okay. So, this is dxi dt, and we will use ideal gas, to take care of dV dt, and we will use something like this. This is easy, and this is all easy, it's just manipulating it a little bit. So, this is ideal gas. Remember, you don't write just PV equal to nR bar T, you write sigma Ni because we know there are multiple species, and then I got P dV dt from same ideal gas, and then I divided the second one by the first one to get this. And actually we can do one more thing very quickly. Just divide here also by volume. Okay. So, 1 over V dV dt So, we will use this one, and let us see what we had in the previous page. The previous page we had this. So, let us check this out. We had this one, this was the first one, and then now we have got this is the second one. Okay. So, instead of this 1 over V dV dt, actually this whole thing 1 over V dV dt, we can use this. So, this one was the first one which had dxi dt, which had omega dot I, which has xi, but it also had 1 over v dv dt. Better than that, let us bring in reaction rates and temperature. That is why we are doing this. Instead of 1 over v dv dt, we have got all this. So, in this putting this. So, this is slight amount of work, and this is 1 over v dv dt. So, this gives you dxi dt. Again, you should ask yourself the question as to how many equations is this? This is n. So, this is another index j, but this is just summation of these concentrations. So, you can use some other index. We do not want to confuse this I with j, but this is just for this summation. So, we got this dxi dt, these are these n equations. We had the energy equation some time back. In fact, the energy equation is what we got yesterday. So, this is one equation. We analyzed the energy equation, we understood that it depends on the heat loss, it depends on the concentrations of species, it also depends on individual reaction rates, plus very importantly it depends on temperature. And so, these things are all mixed up, this is coupled. Temperature depends on species, reaction rates depends on species and temperature. So, these are all put together here. It is not as if d temperature dt depends only on some temperature related terms, it also depends on species related terms. Now, let us do a similar kind of analysis for this dxi dt equal to all this. So, it tells you that the rate of evolution of the species concentration will depend on the reaction rate, definitely, right. Anybody will tell you that the rate of change of concentration of the ith species of course will depend on the reaction rate for the ith species. So, if there is carbon monoxide that we are talking about, then d dt of carbon monoxide concentration will of course depend on an omega dot CO. Maybe that omega dot CO is because of the CO plus OH reaction. Okay. But the interesting thing is that here also the rate of evolution of the concentration of the ith species depends on the temperature here, depends on reaction rates, but the reaction rates depend all reaction rates, all the omega dot i's depend on temperature. So, this is also a complicated situation. We wanted temperature, one equation for temperature, then maybe n equations for n species. So, we have got all that, and the only thing that we have still to do is to get something for volume. We got a 1 over v dv dt equation, and for volume directly we can also write this. So, volume is mass divided by density, and in the density we will write this. So, do we understand this? Volume is mass divided by density. So, is this density? This density, what is Wi? Wi is the molecular weight of the ith species. So, Wi is molecular weight, and this unit is typically kilo, this is kg per kilomole. That molecular weight has a unit, right. So, does this make sense now? Because summation Ni Wi must be the mass divided by volume gives you the density. Actually, we should write more like this, for this way you understand better. Summation on the top, volume of course is just one quantity. So, this gives you another equation. So, ultimately our summary is the following, that we are trying to find solutions where d temperature dt is a function of temperature, dxi dt a function of temperature, so this is the model summary. So, these are the initial conditions. Equation for temperature has a volume term also, but we got an expression for volume term. Okay. So, this is
These two volumes are same on the left hand side and right hand side in the denominator.
so actually I forgot to write one more step. No, I forgot to write one more step. That is why. Actually, I just asked you whether this is okay or not. So, this I am sure is okay. Now, the step I forgot to write is, where do I write this? I will write here.
This is an identity.
No, yes. So, as I said, I missed one thing to show you. This V is m divided by summation xi wi. So, this is better. This is better because we are, this is a step which I missed. Okay. This is obvious from here because Ni by volume is xi and mass is known, mass is not an unknown. This is a fixed mass system. So, the temperature equation had that q dot by V in the numerator. So, that volume is this, which is already expressed in terms of something known. This is known, these are known, and the variable is xi. Okay. So, this gives you a summary of everything that you need to have, and we can solve all this. Now, the unfortunate part of this is that we will not be able to do an example problem in the class. It will take too long because these equations are coupled, these are non-linear. Okay. Temperature equation depends on xi equation depends on temperature, right. So, because of all this business and because of the non-linearities involved, coupled non-linear equations, we will not be able to solve all this in class. But this is just to tell you that this sort of approach can be used to solve. We can solve them using computer programs. Okay. This will require some numerical solution.
Are we ready with as many equations as many?
Yeah. Because we had we wanted equation for temperature, so we have got that. We wanted equation for concentration of xi, so we have got that also, n number of equations. We had that extra thing called volume, but we have in any case related volume to xi. Okay. So, this whole system is obtained. We required initial temperature, we required the initial concentrations, we have got that also. Okay. So, this is the constant pressure reactor. Now, what I will do is, I will assume that you have understood this well. So, I will just tell you very briefly about a constant volume reactor. So, in a constant volume reactor, what do you think we will have? We will not have this piston cylinder arrangement, we can just have a rigid vessel, Okay. So, that is like that inner vessel that you have inside a bomb calorimeter, for example, that is constant volume combustion. You may have seen a bomb calorimeter. So, it has an outer vessel and then there is water inside, and still inside that water you have a very thick walled rigid vessel. Okay, that has constant volume because it will not change because it is so thick. It is a pressure vessel. It has been tested for high pressure. So, when combustion takes place inside this and the pressure builds up, its volume is not going to change. Okay. So, such a thing is a constant volume reactor. In an SI engine, for example, you can say that the combustion takes place at constant volume. Can you say that? For a very small period of time, combustion takes place when the piston is near about the top dead center, and if the combustion takes place very quickly, it is almost like saying constant volume. I mean, it is not correct exactly, but in an approximate sense. So, constant volume reactors are possible, but if engine example is more difficult to appreciate, you can think of just a rigid vessel where there is no piston cylinder arrangement. So, the pressure will not remain constant, pressure will build up. So, such a situation corresponds to constant volume fixed mass reactor, and here I am not going to do the full thing because I trust you will be able to do much of it on your own. You have understood the constant pressure reactor, I suppose. So, just follow the same thing. What will you have there for constant volume case? This is first law, this is the rigid vessel, this is the control volume that you are talking about, some q dot, w dot is 0. Why? No volume change, because work done is supposed to be PdV, and delta W is supposed to be PdV, and then PdV is 0 because there is no volume change. So, this is q dot by m equal to du dt. And if you remember, in the constant pressure reactor case, what did we get for q dot by m? If you had constant pressure reactor, q dot by m was dH by dt. Okay. So, this is the old one, this is not about this one, this is what we did last time. So, this is something interesting because we can say that, okay, whatever equation we developed for this case for the constant pressure reactor, maybe we can develop the same equation for this one, just replacing H with U. So, check this out, it will have a predictable course, and you should be able to write
Here we won't like to convert to enthalpy.
Yeah, we will do that, but I just what I have just now said is, so the question is, should we try to convert to enthalpy? Of course, we should, but right now I am just saying that if q dot by m is dH by dt, we got this thing where instead of this u's we had h's, that is all. So, now we have q dot by m equal to du dt. So, we will get, after derivation we should be able to get this. So, what has changed? Instead of h we have got u, and instead of Cp we got Cv. This is molar specific heat of the ith species at constant volume. This is Cv bar I. Now, of course, you will do some more work here, and you will do things like this, that you will write ui bar equal to hi bar minus r bar t, and Cv bar I r bar in the last equation. So, we can place these in the last equation. And then we got a d temperature dt equation. Now, here unlike in the last problem, we do not need an equation for V, because V is known, but unlike in the last problem we do need an equation for P, pressure. So, we will again use ideal gas, and we have P V equal to summation N I R bar T, and V dP dt gives, okay, so this gives P equal to we have this and we have this, and we can, after some effort, we can show again you need not focus on writing, just look at this, it is very easy to do, this is very similar to what we did for the last one. So, this gives you an equation for dP dt, and this will be of use because pressure will definitely change as a function of time. Now, we also need species equations, and this time it will be just this, that will be your species equation. What is the difference with the last one for constant pressure? There you had to do a dV dt also, here V is constant, and since V is constant it just became 1 over V dNi dt, which by definition we called omega dot I. We gave the name omega dot I to 1 over V, 1 over volume dNi dt. So, these are your species equation. The d temperature dt equation I wrote some time back, okay, which was again very similar to the constant pressure situation. So, we got now n plus 1 equations, okay, and we got an equation for pressure also. So, our job is essentially done. Okay. Now, what we will try to do sometime later is we will also do a problem for a constant volume reactor, not now, not now, sometime later we will do that. And today we have a few minutes left, and I will try to bring up another kind of reactor. This is the last reactor that we will be doing. After that we will go to flames. Okay. So, there is something called a well starred reactor. So, well starred reactor. So, we had a constant pressure reactor, we had a constant volume reactor, now we are looking at a well starred reactor. So, the book by Stephen Turns talks about another one which is called a plug flow reactor. Now, what I have decided that I will not touch upon plug flow reactor, I will ask you to read that on your own. Okay. And the well starred reactor I plan to discuss today. Now, what is a well starred reactor? In a well starred reactor, there is starring and mixing. Okay. So, you have a chamber in which some reactants are coming in and the reactants are going out, and if the coming in and the business is through some jets at high velocities, then there is very good mixing inside. So, if you have a reactor, you can actually have very good mixing if you employ high velocity jets. I have shown one inlet here, but you can also build it like this, that you can have, let us say this is your reactor, and you can have multiple jets coming into this of reactants, and the jets are directed with in such a way, and jets are designed in such a way, and they have such velocities that there is very good mixing here. Okay. And then the products go out from here. So, from the name well stirred reactor, you can make out that this implies that there is very good mixing. That is why it is called well stirred reactor. It is also called a perfectly stirred reactor. Well stirred reactor is sometimes called WSR as an abbreviation, but it can also be called a PSR, where P is for perfect. So, this is perfectly, P for perfectly. So, this is perfectly stirred reactor. So, that is another name. Now, we are sending fuel and air, okay, or whatever reactants you have, designed with jets at high velocity, directed in such a way that there is very good mixing pattern generated inside the reactor, and you have very good mixing. And then some reaction, the fuel and oxidizer are getting mixed very well. You have the same level of mixing at various points, and they will react. If they are reactive, they will react and produce something, and then that whatever is produced will go out. Okay. How is this different from the other two reactors that we looked at? We looked at the constant pressure reactor, spending a lot of time on it. We did the constant volume reactor very fast, but both of them are kind of similar in the sense that both of them are fixed mass systems. So, the first thing that should strike you here is that in this case you have reactants moving in and maybe products going out, and this is an open system. So, there is a flow in, there is a flow out. Okay. What are we interested in? What do you think? We have this sort of a reactor. Reactants are coming in, designed in such a way that there is very good mixing, then reaction happens and something goes out. What are we interested in? Rate of change of mass. Okay. Rate of change of mass will, when you say rate of change of mass, obviously you mean to say the rate at which mass changes with respect to time, isn't it? That can be of interest, or what else?
Heat transfer across the boundary.
Heat transfer across the boundary can be something of interest. What else?
Species concentration, rate of change of species.
Rate of change of species concentration. But suppose we do not even have that. So, see, it's easy to imagine a situation where this is in steady state. So, this is a steady flow, steady state sort of situation. Possible? Okay. And in that case, what are you interested in? Okay, there will be an initial setting up time. When you start this, initially maybe something will happen, but after that it should reach a steady flow condition.
Steady state temperature.
Yeah, but what is of interest? Where do you look at? Yeah, so you are more interested in the outlet, because inlet is known to you. You know what you are sending in this, and what goes out are the products. So, think about a chemical process industry, maybe they are sending all these reactants. I mean, I have drawn, as I said, single inlet, but there can be multiple inlets also. So, you are sending something. What are you finally interested in? What comes out? Okay. What comes out obviously is the thing that you are looking at, otherwise why did you make this reactor? So, it will depend on the temperature that you have, the T out. There must be a T in here, and you must be sending a certain m dot through this. if you consider steady flow, the same m dot will go out. Okay. So, you like to know T out, and if this is cold flow going in, maybe there is some hot fluid coming out after reaction. All right. But what else are you interested in? You are interested in the temperature at the outlet. What else?
So the time it takes for the reactants to come out from the outlet, resident time becomes.
Yeah, so there has to be a residence time issue also. The residence time will depend on what? It will be related to the density here, the volume here divided by the mass flow rate, isn't it? Depends on the density that you get here, but it also depends on the rate at which you are pushing the reactants in, isn't it? Okay, that is one. But you are not, what you are not saying is that we are of course also interested in Xi at the outlet. No? At outlet, what species are coming out and in what concentration? That is important. You want to know what is coming out, simple. Okay, what is the temperature? What are the various species and in what concentrations? Okay. Now, if you think about this, do we say that there is more reaction happening here, then still more reaction happening here, here reaction will come down and here reaction will be pretty less and things like that?
It is stirred, that's why the.
Yeah, so if you did not stir it, if the mixing was not that good, what would have happened is then maybe the reaction rates at various places would have been different. But this is not the case here. Because you have mixed it so well, you expect that you will have the same reactant concentration, same product concentration, same temperatures everywhere. So, spatially again this is uniform. It is reacting at the same rate at various places. Of course, you can understand that in reality it is hard to get that. You can come close to that of course, but if you design the reactor well, but of course there will be differences in reaction rates from one place to another to some extent. But we are doing idealization because we are trying to keep the problem simpler at this stage, because we are just learning how to analyze combustion systems. So, you will have the same temperature at all places. Okay, so it comes with T in the some value, but because it is reacting it is all homogeneous and reacting uniformly everywhere, you are going to get the same temperatures, and those temperatures will be same as the outlet temperature. This T outlet is something which you see here, but the T outlet exists here also. Okay. So, how do we analyze all this? Here again we have to write equations obviously, but unlike in the last two cases, the equations will not be time dependent if we want to do a steady flow analysis. That is of more interest, because think about putting this in a process line. You are sending some reactants and products are coming out. You are not really interested in the transients. You are not really interested in initially what happens or finally if you are closing down the system what happens. That is really not the major issue. You want to see that, okay, if I am sending something through this, what is it that I am getting out at that steady situation. So, we need equations, and we will again use of course first law. We will use first law, and we will use species equations. So, similar sort of approach, but this time not a function of time. The species equation will take some time. Today we do not have that much time left. So, let us think about the energy equation. We have few minutes. So, can we think about the energy equation? What will it look like? We will have a q dot here, correct? We will have a q dot. So, we have q dot. So, what do you write the energy equation as?
M dot into H
Hmm.
H out.
So, we will not write that closed system, fixed mass, that sort of energy equation. If you write q dot equal to du dt plus w dot, that is not correct, right. That is for a closed system fixed mass. So, here you have to write something like q dot, which is like your q dot Cv in thermodynamics course. In thermodynamics we used to write q dot Cv plus summation m dot into within bracket hi plus vi squared by 2 plus gzi, things like that. So, we write q dot here, q dot plus this is m dot h in, okay, and that will be equal to m dot h out plus work done, but we are not writing work done. So, there is no work done, there is no moving shaft in here. So, we are not writing a w dot. So, that means your q dot is m dot times h out minus h in. So, this looks simple. What about q dot? Again somebody has to tell you, or you may have to measure, like in the previous problems, q dot was something which we did not write an equation for. We said that maybe q dot is told to us, or you have measured it or something. So, same approach here, there is some q dot. Now, this looks simple, but ultimately what are we interested in? We are interested in the temperature, for example. Does it have temperature? Yes, it does, in the enthalpy term. Okay. Does it have species concentrations? M dot is just a number, you can treat this to be a number. So, you are sending this at 2 kgs per second, let us say, whatever.
The concentration will differ for different.
No, the m dot. M dot is you just pushing something at a certain rate. So, m dot is a known number, isn't it?
It's in H out, sir.
Yeah. So, H in and H out will also depend on species concentrations. Again, think about a stream going out. Okay, think about a stream going out. It has various species in it, and they are all at that outlet temperature T out, right. So, will it depend only on that outlet temperature, or will it depend on concentrations also? That is the question. So, what I am saying is something is going out, okay, you know that m dot of that. Why does it depend on species concentration? Should it depend on species concentration? Should it not depend only on temperature?
So CPs are different for different species.
Yeah, and if you think about H, okay, H is this, and this H will depend on summation using a notation something like this, okay, and this Hi bar is enthalpy of formation of the ith species plus so it depends on the enthalpy of formation. Each species is carrying some enthalpy of formation with it, it is not just temperature dependent, okay, and it is also has a CPI. Okay, so each species has its own signature, it is coming with its own information. So, it will depend on the concentrations. You can have the same mass flow rate with various combinations of concentrations. So, you need to know concentrations. So, we have to close in a minute, but this tells us that even though it looks simple, it has the temperature in it and it has the concentrations in it. Okay. What is the job next class? That is tomorrow. We will look at species equations also, because this is just the energy equation. All right. So, we will stop here.